Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Are the Opera Power with Gail and Jane. Hi, Jane.
Hi, Gail. Hi, everyone.
So, today, what we're going to talk about is leading by example. The conversation we were having just before we came is we're both mothers. We are, I don't know if you want to call it stereotypical mothers, but what our understanding of mothers were or always has been up to the last probably couple of years is that we fix things for our kids. If there's issues, we do what we can to fix it. And not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but as you start to sort of learn what we've been learning, you start to see things a little bit differently, and fixing for them on the outside is not really helpful for anybody because you can't make changes on the outside. We've talked about that even just in the last video about control. That's not where the changes are made. They're not made on the outside, they're made on the inside, and then the response is different from you and from the people in your circle. So do you want to go through a scenario, Jane? We'll just kind of talk about a scenario. Do you have one
Yeah.
in mind?
So, not, I wouldn't say, well, and we've also talked as parents at this stage that we want to hopefully wait until we're asked for advice, which makes things a lot easier. Like, I'm not seeking out reasons to go tell my kids how to live their lives or what to do, or even if I see something, I do it in my mind now, and it's like, oh, I see them, all is well, harmony, unity, and love, everything's good. But my daughter came to me and asked me, was telling me about a problem she had, and of course my old way would be to go into fixing it and telling her how to do it and
What
telling
to do?
her and what to do. And we were just saying, instead of doing that, it's more helpful for me to lift her in my mind out of that, first of all, and then maybe frame it as I do this now. I pay attention to what I want and not what I don't want. And I think that is huge in my everyday life, because especially living in times we're living in, there's a lot of things we don't want. And I was also saying about worrying about the future, setting ourselves up that way, which tends to lead to anxiety, and you're out of control, and what am I going to do about that? Objectifying rather than subjectifying, like I had the other day, and it's funny that she's having a day like that today.
Well,
And
and I don't think it's uncommon for a lot of people
yeah,
to be
no,
having those days and
absolutely.
people coming up to you. How are you doing today? Terrible. I'm feeling a lot of anxiety. I'm feeling depressed. I'm really worried. And I mean, this not even only relates to like family, it's just family and friends and just people in your area. And
Yeah, and I
what you can fall into with learning what we're learning is that we know the right way. This is how you have to deal with it like this, and it'll be great. You'll just start seeing the world differently. But the problem with pushing it on people is you present the opportunity potential for them to put up a conscious block
yes,
that like, oh, you're crazy. I don't want anything to do with that. And so the problem with that is the subconscious mind, just for an example, me and you, my subconscious mind is in connection and in communication with yours based on what I think of you. So you're going to respond based on what I think of you because of that connection. And we have this connection with everybody because there is only one consciousness, right? So if I say to you, before doing anything in my head, if I say to you, Jane, you know what? Go and get your hair cut. It's too long. You're an old lady, go and get it cut. Of course, I don't mean that, but So if I don't imagine that in my head, that your hair is like really, really short and looks really good, then there's no opportunity for it to play out in my reality if you're consciously saying like, no, I like long hair. I don't like short hair. It doesn't suit me, all of those sort of things. And that's kind of a stupid example that I used, but the point being that if I say it to you first without imagining it, then you're just automatically going to, if it's not something that you agree with or understand or want to do, you're going to be like, no. And so we know if we don't accept something, then it doesn't become part of our experience. So on both sides of the thing, I'm not doing what you're in my reality. But if I'm not imagining what I want and telling you in the objective world what I want from you without me changing with it,
yes.
and you know I'm not interested in that, then it's not going to happen.
Well, yeah.
Perspective, if you don't accept something, then
Yes.
it become part of your reality.
Well, and in practice, what I find is if you go at it, it's kind of weird. Because if you go at it with the thought inside, oh, that person's this way, I'm going to go change their mind. And you're already in the mind that they're like that. They're going to show you that side versus
they're going to prove to you what you're thinking, not what you're saying, but what you're thinking.
Right. Now you're in a double battle of you're creating and you're going against your own thoughts and perceptions in your, so the easy thing to do is for me to now see my child in that light that I want them, and I know
their best life.
They're living their best life. That's what they know how to go about this. They don't
happy understanding of how life works. So I think with my kids, like, because I've done that, and they've come along to start learning more and have an interest more, whereas they didn't before. And
yes,
you know, for me, that's because I opened that possibility up that they would have an interest.
Well, and also saying in an I way, like this is what I do now. I focus on it, and I'm finding it really works. It sort of plants a seed to align with the thought that I've already know that they are doing. They're going to do that. They're already doing it. They're already living that. So that just
you're leading by example,
right? And it also would confirm, like if I've done it subconsciously with them, that's going to be like a confirmation thought in their own mind. Oh yeah, I can, like I do that. I can do that. Like I've done that before.
Providing you stay
in that state
in your mind. Yeah.
So that's very, very, very different to what I used to do. What I used to do is try to, I guess, can like change their mind, like I said, but I'm not really. I'm changing.
Well, really,
my mind.
Come from a control perspective, right?
Yeah.
You go back to when I did the schooling stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have in the unschooling, I could have made it homeschooling and said, no, you're doing curriculum. You're doing this, 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 and this. And no, we don't have time for that because you have this to do. So we're not going here. We're not going there because we're doing this. So I could have controlled the whole process and the outcome would have been different. I don't know what the outcome would have been because I don't think in those terms, but it would have been different because she wouldn't have been sort of creating her own sense of self,
right?
And interests and that sort of thing. It's like, no, you're learning this because I say what you need, which is like what happens in school, right?
Well, and it ultimately teaches you to objectify your own thoughts and directions, because then you're constantly looking for someone to tell you, even if you go along with it and when you're young and go, okay, everyone's going to tell me what to do. Well, that's not going to be very great when you become an adult and you have to actually figure stuff out for yourself. You're going to be looking.
A lot of adults don't, but yeah. I mean, and again, they're just where they are on the pattern. I mean, we're seeing right now a lot of adults that are not making decisions for them,
Exactly.
making them based on what they're told to do
Yes.
and that sort of thing. But
Yes.
and they're just where they are on their pattern, and they'll get there. We were all there. And that's the important thing, I think, to point out too to people, is that we're not where we're living in our end, but we're still learning as we're going along, right? And we've done all of these, anything that we bring up as rather than do this, like we've done it. So we've kind of learned from that, and we're just sharing. What I've done is XYZ, as opposed to everybody, you need to do this. If this is your situation, you need to do this. Like, we're not about that. We're just sharing what our experiences have been. You take it or toss it.
Yeah.
It's totally up to you. And this, I mean, the same with, I mean, my kids, they have their own minds. And I have I think my end for them is just that they're, you know, happy living their best life. I don't have specifics for them. And so it's kind of like whatever they share is like, oh, okay, like that's just part of even the problems that come up. Well, you're living your best life and you're happy. So I don't worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
You'll figure it out, or I'll figure it out, in the sense of lifting them, like, you know, in my mind, like they know the answer. They know.
Well, yeah, and that's so opposite of what as like
it's having faith, right?
right, and it's so
Taught me through the unschooling was all about the faith.
And like we've talked about, if you're like in your mind, you're thinking, oh, well, they're struggling and they don't know what they want. Like you're subconsciously, you're sending all those messages.
Yeah.
And there's things that we've kind of been taught, well, you have to do that because you have to be on this fear patrol or whatever. Like, you know, you have to be looking for signs like we've talked about. And for me,
and really, if we're not allowing others to have their experience, that's our fear.
Yes.
Of, I don't know why we would, like, it's a control thing. It's a fear thing. Like, oh, if I don't tell her to do this, then this might happen. Like, and then I have to deal with that stuff. You know what I mean? As opposed to like, I know you know the answer.
Yeah.
Conversation in my head. I know you know the answer. So, because you're living your best life.
Well, that's going to be my, yeah, that's going to be my theme now for the rest of the day. Oh, I know she knows the answer. Oh yeah, she's got this. She's got this figured out. That's like, you know, not only I suppose in practice for myself and not looking out there for answers or, you know, analyzing and remembering for myself, it's very important to remember that for the others in my life, because that's where I felt like today I was getting pulled out of that zone. I was like, oh, I got to figure out this. Oh,
right. Well, she's just reflecting back to you.
Yeah.
What's in your consciousness.
How I used to think. And I don't think that way anymore.
And now you know that everybody's just living their best life and
yeah,
faith in them.
Yeah.
Which is really having faith in yourself.
Yes.
It's you they're going to respond to you differently once you've changed.
Yeah. Well, the fact that she's even asking me for my advice is a change. So normally she wouldn't, I would say, like, so that's
there's a lot of people seeking right now too. As much as people are feeling depressed and feeling anxiety, they're looking for, I don't know what to do. And I mean, I can't speak for you, but like I was there.
Yeah.
At that place, it's like, well, I just don't know the answer. I just don't know the answer. But I knew if somebody was telling me something that felt right or not. So, oh, no, you know, do this. No, I don't know. That just doesn't feel right.
Well, it also, like, even yesterday I noticed there was like thoughts coming up and I was like, oh, I gotta figure this out. I gotta figure that. And then I was like, well, what if I just don't figure it out? What if I just figure this moment out and everything right now is fine? So I'll just leave it at that. All is
What
well.
was the thought? And you don't have to tell me, but
That was like, oh, I
to
need to
figure out, do you want, is it what you want or what you don't want? That's all you have to figure out.
right.
And if it's not what you want, then forgive and replace with what you want. That's all that you have to do. You don't have to analyze it and figure out where that came from and why that came up and all this.
Okay. So it was about like a certain thing with my car. So then I was like, okay, well, all is well. I'll just, when I need to use my car, I'll use my car and I'll just assume that all is well. Instead of, oh, I need to figure out when I'm going to do this, if this happens or that happens.
Oh, as soon as you say if,
yeah. And I knew that.
You're creating a story. The story has begun.
Well, and you can feel it. Like, I think that's where the anxiety comes from, because then you start to feel anxious about it. So I was like, no, everything's good right now. I'm good. Everything's good. I'll deal with
I would
it.
forgive, clean the slate, forgive that for your car for showing you that in your consciousness. No, everything is working perfectly.
Well, because I told you I've had it happen several times with my car.
Yeah.
Where I've heard noises and then I call my brother to help me fix it and then it's gone, because I guess subconsciously I've been doing, oh, my car's fine. My car does this thing where you'll hear something and then it goes away. And I was coming in and out of those thoughts. So it would come back and then it would go away and it would come back. And you had the same thing happen with your car, with the window.
Yeah. 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 So, and my window's still working. Well, just quickly, the story is I have one of those windows where you pull the little button up and it just automatically goes up without having to touch it, which is I love that, that I could do that, but it's only for the driver's side window.
Yeah.
And one day it stopped working. So I was trying to do the window up and I had to hold the button. I mean, first world problems, right? I had to hold the button till it was all the way up. And then I just kind of imagined like just touching the button again and it just came up and I forgot about it. And within days, I was going to do the window and noticed it has a certain feel to it, right? When you're having to do it with your finger the whole way or with it, just that touch automatically goes up. And I felt that touch that just automatically goes up. So I removed my finger and the windows kept going. So yeah, so it's just like
having faith.
Well, yeah, and not figuring it out.
Yeah.
I didn't figure out, how am I going to fix this? How am I going to get this done? Who's going to do this for me? Oh my God, how much is it going to cost? Like, I didn't come into all of those stories. I'm like, okay, well, I really like it when it works. So I'm just going to imagine that it works. And then when, I was using it and it wasn't working, I wasn't saying like, what the heck's going on? Why is it not working? How come this didn't work? No, it's just like, whatever, do what you need to do. And then one day it just started working. And I had the thing with my phone too, with the clock on it.
Yeah, the date stamp.
Back it stopped. There's a clock on sort of the screensaver. And I loved it because it was big. I don't always wear my glasses, but I could see that without my glasses. And so I loved it. And then all of a sudden it stopped working. And I'm like, oh, I really would like that to be working because I really like it. And never thought anything more of it. Never gave any stories about how am I going to get this fixed or why is this not working and all that sort of stuff. I never did any of that. And it actually took a couple of months, but then one day it's back. I'm like, oh yes, I can see the clock. I can see the time again so easily. And it's still there. Like, I don't know. I never did anything. never changed everything, never touched anything. Technologically, I'm a little bit challenged when it comes to phones, especially. I don't even like using the phone that much. So it manifested itself.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly we come to the stories of, like, it's like you said, I think that was the story with my car, is like, oh, it's going to cost me money and I got to fix it and it's going to be an inconvenience. And, you automatically you just go into, instead of like, oh, well, it'll fix itself. It'll be fine.
No, it is fine.
It is fine.
Yeah, not even if you say it'll fix itself, you're implying there's something wrong with it.
Oh, yeah. It's fine.
I had a thought. Now, I was in the car earlier and I had a thought about, I can't even remember exactly what it was, but when you notice that there's something wrong, but you're not really affected by it, but you know that it's something wrong, something that's not not normal or not something that you're used to, but it shows up. So let's say a health thing, for example, arthritis in a knuckle.
Yeah.
So sometimes it hurts, sometimes it doesn't hurt, which means, you either have arthritis or you don't have arthritis, right? It's the hurt is triggered by something else. But rather than even going into looking at what's triggering it, if you just think about it, like, okay, so it's there, but it's not affecting me in any way. Like, it's not life-threatening. It's not keeping me from
right. You don't attach a story.
It's not keeping me from anything. It's not life-threatening if you're talking about health. Like, it's just not life-threatening. It's not keeping me from anything. So why am I focused on it?
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as you stop that focus and just know that you're healthy, then that's when you're not feeling it, right? It goes back to sleep. It's not that
right.
Go away, because it will come back when you start giving attention to it. That's just work.
Yes.
When we think about what we're focused on, like, what effect is it having, that it requires the focus.
Yeah.
Like, I have a tooth that's, could probably use a filling from a dentist perspective, but it doesn't bother me. I eat on that side. I have no issues at all with it. But if I went into a dentist, they'd say, oh, we need to do something with that. But I don't focus on it as being an issue because it's not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But if a lot of our programming will tell us, like, if you have a bad tooth, you better get that fixed because it might get infected and there might be this and there might be that. And what if this happens? And what if that happens? And none of that is an issue. That's not part of my story. So my tooth is just healthy and just is how it is. So yeah, that goes back to the stories and, well, where did that come from? Like, and well, even if it is like that, what's it doing to you? And I'm not suggesting that you not deal with, say, something like arthritis or a bad tooth, but for me anyways, the way I would deal with it is like, oh, I love how healthy my teeth are. I love how, my fingers are so flexible and move with ease or whatever. As opposed to, oh my gosh, well, if I have it here, what if I get it in the other knuckles? And what if I get it in the other, and I don't have it, just for the record, but what if it spreads to my knees? What if it spreads? And then you start this whole big snowball of stuff because you've accepted it in one place.
Well, and we're bombarded with what ifs right now, I feel like, too, in our media.
Are you? It's your consciousness.
Yeah.
Are you?
No.
Consciousness.
Yeah. Interesting. I must be creating that.
Well, just forgive.
Yeah.
And all is well, or whatever it is that you want to. And see, that's the other thing. This understanding is really important, because there is going to be stuff that's still going on out there that you may notice as being stuff that you don't want. what effect is it having on you?
Right.
Why are
Yeah.
you claiming it as something? Because
Yes.
the way, like, the people in our lives are not shadows. They will reflect back to us what our beliefs are, but they're human themselves.
Yes.
Everybody's at a different place in their pattern on their path. And so everything in Caesar's world has a purpose. And that's for people to, I mean, eventually they're going to wake up, they're going to learn, get to places where they just, the same place that you and I at one point have got to, like, oh, there's got to be more to life than this. We have to allow that for people to get there. We got there, and we were there before. We were where they were. So it's not for us to take that away from them. So they may experience things that we don't consider part of our conscious. Now you're showing me that, but I forgive that because I know everybody's healthy. And so even when you see it out there, what effect does it have on you if everybody's healthy in your consciousness? It has no effect until you start with your stories like, well, what if,
Yeah.
or you get angry because you still see it out there. Well, what is it to you? What business is it of yours?
Yes.
I find myself saying a lot, well, it's nothing to do with me.
Yes.
Okay, you be there. There's nothing to do with me because everybody's healthy.
Yes. Good point.
Yeah, that was my wisdom for today in my car. Like, what's it do with you? How's it affect you? Well, it's not really. Okay, then what's your point?
Yeah.
Why create all these stories around it then?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I think that's long enough, I think. Try and make it short so we can get these on Instagram.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Please feel free to like, subscribe, message below, and we will talk to you soon. See you, Jane.
Bye, Gail. Bye.